Hey guys, how you going? Well, I just wanted to bring you something very interesting. Before I start, I want to just let you know to believe your own gut, or your gut feeling, your instinct, and go with what feels right to you. So, and previously I have read things that haven't come true. But Q also put up the other day that we shouldn't focus on dates because they're not going to tell the enemy when it's happening. So they're not going to tell us either. So, okay, let's get started with this. Also, the wall that Trump was talking about was not just a wall. It was protection against the 5G, like the bad 5G signals and harmful effects. So Trump, during his speeches, I've been watching them, and he has been mentioning that they're winning court cases. Which kind of brought me back to the thought of Cyrus A. Parser. Now, I know that's not a real... it would be thrown out of court because of the misspellings and the mistakes that are made and everything. But what I was thinking was, could that have been rewritten and put forward? Because I'm sure I wanted to help, so I'm sure other people would. And could the suing of these people already be going on? And if you think about it, Trump mentioned that he had signed an order stopping the funds and taking property off anyone caught human trafficking or child trafficking or involved in it in any way. What I think is happening is, the money that everybody's getting, because we're getting it too in Australia, we have been given certain amounts, but it's been very little compared to, say, the US. Everyone in the US is getting so much money, apparently, per month until this is over. The money is also coming from our reserve banks. So your Federal Reserve, the Reserve Bank of Australia, these are the people who... It is not coming from the government. This is coming from the Federal Reserve and the Reserve Bank of Australia. And anything that you will get will be coming from your Reserve Bank. Now, this makes sense if they are taking the money back that these companies and banks and corporations have been taking off the people, because we know most of them are involved in one way or another with human trafficking and things like that. So, NESARA, and why Trump said it's been an honour being your president. What I heard about this was there cannot be a president for NESARA to happen, or he can be out of the country. He's fully signed presidential disaster declarations for all 50 states. I'm just looking at NESARA in Twitter. Is this to enact the NESARA GESARA law, interim government for 128 days, and martial law? Just be aware. I'm not saying this is going to happen. For anyone confused as to how this is winning, think of one of Trump's main rally cries, drain the swamp. Then research NESARA GESARA disaster declaration for all 50 states. And that's from Stray Cat at Native Flower on Twitter. Do you know what NESARA is? Your eyes will widen when you read about it. Why don't you know about it? Because corrupt politicians have made sure you didn't know about it. That's why. The economic shutdown will be used to implement a global reset. Research NESARA and GESARA. The banksters and central banks will be destroyed, and instead of the New World Order globalism will see freedom and prosperity of independent nations like never before. So what I wanted to do was take you here. Do you know about NESARA? I'll bet you don't, but it's time you do. From Sonia Zazula. NESARA is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. It was to be announced in the morning of September 11th, 2001. Yes, this is true. Have I got your attention now? And it would have been announced if September 11th hadn't have gone down the way it did. In fact, your congressman knows about NESARA and your senator knows about NESARA. Don't believe me, please call or email them to see if they will respond. I guarantee you, they will not respond to you in any way. You will only receive silence, just like me and just like you have for many years now. Even with multiple written requests, I have yet to hear back from my delegates. Congressman Darrell Issa, Senator Dianne Feinstein, and Senator Barbara Boxer. They are all operating under a gag order by the Supreme Court forbidding it to be discussed. Don't believe me? Try it. Please pick up the phone and call them. Ask if they are aware of NESARA and see for yourself. They will not confirm or deny it. Fact, William Jefferson Clinton signed NESARA into law on October the 10th, 2000, and it was to be enacted the morning of September 11th, 2001. So why do the politicians that you elect continue to hide it from you? Yes, a gag order is in place, but it is a gag order that protects our politicians. It protects them from ever having to tell you the truth. Why? How, you ask? The fact is that most of your delegates are corrupt and they will not have jobs once NESARA is enacted. It is that simple. Indeed, many will end up in jail when the public demands NESARA, so why in the world will they ever tell you? NESARA is being intentionally and fiercely hidden from you in every possible way. It is being buried, occluded and hidden from your sight. This is why it is not on our mainstream news. NESARA returns this country to the original Constitution of the United States of America, not the corporate United States, but the one our founding fathers created, the original US of A. A brief history of NESARA. 2000. Late one evening on March the 9th, 2000, a written quorum call was hand-delivered by Delta Force personnel and Navy SEALs to 15 members of the US Senate and the US House, who were the sponsors and co-sponsors of NESARA. They were immediately escorted by the Delta Force and these Navy SEALs to their respective voting chambers, where they passed the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. These 15 members of Congress were the only people lawfully allowed to hold office in accordance with the original 13th Amendment. Remember, if you will, that British soldiers destroyed copies of the Titles of Nobility Amendment, TONA, in the War of 1812 because it prevented anyone who has ties to the Crown of England from holding public office. NESARA is the most groundbreaking reformation to sweep not only this country but our planet in its entire history. The Act does away with the Federal Reserve Bank, the IRS, the shadow government, and much more. It is representative of the government of our nation, finally, subordinating to and serving Americans. NESARA implements the following changes and provides for the following. Number 1. Zeroes out all credit card, mortgage and other bank debt due to illegal banking and government activities that created and precipitated this debt. This is the Federal Reserve's worst nightmare, a jubilee or a forgiveness of debt. Number 2, it abolishes the income tax. Number 3, abolishes the IRS. Employees of the IRS will be transferred into the US Treasury National Sales Tax area. Number 4, creates a 14% flat rate non-essential new items only sales tax revenue for the government. In other words, food and medicine will not be taxed. nor will used items such as old homes. Number 5, increases benefits to senior citizens. Number 6, returns constitutional law, i.e. not maritime law, to all courts and legal matters. Number 7, reinstates the original title of nobility amendment. This clause reads, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office or of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, except of any present emolument, office or title of any kind whatever, from any king, prince or foreign state. If any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive or retain any title of nobility or honour, or shall without the consent of Congress accept and retain any present, pension, office or emolument of any kind whatever from any emperor, king, prince or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them, or either of them. Number 1, establishes new presidential and congressional elections within 120 days after NESARA's announcement. Number 2, the interim government will cancel all national emergencies and return us back to the constitutional base law and legal system. Number 3, monitors elections and prevents illegal election activities of special interest groups. Number 4, creates a new US Treasury rainbow currency, which is actually backed by gold, silver and platinum precious metals, thus ending the bankruptcy of the United States initiated by Franklin Roosevelt in 1933 and the instigation of the Federal Reserve System. Number 5, forbids the sale of American birth certificate records as chattel property bonds by the US Department of Transportation. Number 6, initiates new US Treasury bank system in alignment with constitutional law. Number 7, eliminates the Federal Reserve System. During the transition period, the Federal Reserve will be allowed to operate side by side of the US Treasury for 1 year in order to remove all Federal Reserve notes from the money supply. 8, restores financial privacy. Number 9, restrains all judges and attorneys in constitutional law. Number 10, ceases all aggressive US government military actions worldwide. Number 11, establishes a platform for the United States to lead the world towards peace. Number 12, releases enormous sums of money for a multitude of humanitarian purposes. Number 13, enables the release of over 6,000 patents of suppressed technologies that are being withheld from public under the guise of national security, including free energy devices, anti-gravity and sonic healing machines. The following 15 points are based upon factual historical evidence. First, in 1863, Lincoln instituted martial law. He ordered that the state's people either conscribe troops and provide money in support of the North, or be recognised as an enemy of the nation. This martial law act of Congress is still in effect today. What it means is the President has dictatorial authority to do anything that can be done by the government in accord with the Constitution of the United States of America. This is the foundation of presidential executive orders. Second, the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871 created a private corporation, hereinafter the US, owned and operated by the actual government for the purpose of carrying out the business needs of the government under martial law. This was done under the constitutional authority for Congress to pass any law within the 10-mile square of Washington, District of Columbia. Third, in said act, Corps, US, adopted their own constitution, United States Constitution, which was identical to the national constitution, the Constitution of the United States of America, except that it was missing the national constitution's 13th Amendment. The National Constitution's 13th, 14th and 15th Amendments are respectively numbered 14th, 15th and 16th Amendments in their Constitution. Fourth, the corporation began to generate debts via bond, etc., which came due in 1912, but they could not pay their debts, so the 7 families that bought up the bonds demanded payment, and Corp US could not pay. Said families settled the debt for the payments of all of Corp US assets and for all of the assets of the Treasury of the United States of America. Fifth, as 1913 began, Corp US had no funds to carry out the necessary business needs of the government, so they went to said families and asked if they could borrow some money. The families said no. Corp US had already demonstrated that they would not repay their debts in full. The families had foreseen this situation and had the year before finalised the creation of a private corporation of the name Federal Reserve Bank Corp. Corp US formed a relationship with the Federal Reserve Bank whereby they could transact their business via note rather than with money. Notice that this relationship was one made between 2 private corporations and did not involve government. That is where most people err in understanding the Federal Reserve Bank system. Again, it has no government relation at all. The private contracts that set the whole system up even recognise that if anything therein proposed is found illegal or impossible to perform, it is excluded from the agreements and the remaining elements remain in full force and effect. Sixth, almost simultaneously with the last fact, also in 1913, Corp US passes and adopts, as if ratified, their own 16th Amendment. It must be noted that this amendment has nothing to do with our nation, with our people, or with our national constitution, which already has its own 16th Amendment. The Supreme Court ruled that it did nothing that was not already done other than to make plain and clear the right of the United States Corp US to tax corporations. We agree, considering they were created under the authority of the Corp US. Seventh, next, also 1913, Congress passed and entered the 17th Amendment as ratified, even though the states had no opportunity to ratify the same. This amendment is not only not ratified, it is not constitutional. The Constitution forbids Congress from even discussing the matter of where senators are elected. Eighth, in 1914, the freshman class and all senators that successfully ran for re-election in 1913 by popular vote are seated in Corp US capacity only. Ninth, in 1917, Corp US enters World War I and passes their emergency war powers and Trading with the Enemies Acts. 10th, in 1918, President Wilson is re-elected by the Electoral College. Their election is required to be confirmed by the constitutionally set Senate, where in the new Corp US only senators were allowed to participate in the Electoral College vote confirmation. The only authority that could possibly have been used for electoral confirmation was corporate only. Therefore, President Wilson was not confirmed in office for his second term as President of the United States of America, and was only seated in the Corp US presidential capacity. Therefore, the original jurisdiction's government seats were vacated because the people didn't seat any original jurisdiction government officers. 11th, in 1933, the Trading with the Enemies Act is adjusted to recognise the people of the United States of America as enemies of Corp US. Dear me. 12th, in 1944, under the Bretton Woods Agreement, Corp US is quit claim to the International Monetary Fund and becomes a foreign-controlled private corporation. 13th, sometime after 1935, you ask Social Security Administration for a relationship with their program. They create an entity with a name that sounds like your name but is spelt with all capital letters, and a depository account number in the Social Security General Trust Fund, GTF. They give you the Social Security card, which identifies you as the single person with authority to control the entity they created, On review, you may notice that the Social Security Administration was the creator of the entity, the GTF is its beneficiary, and you were made its trustee. More importantly, this capacity does not limit you or your capacity to act in your sovereign capacity in any way. 14th, in 1968, at the National Governors Conference in Lexington, Kentucky, the IMF leaders of the event proposed the dilemma the state governments were in for carrying out their business dealings in Federal Reserve notes, foreign notes, which is forbidden in the national and state constitutions, alleging that if they did not do something to protect themselves, the people would discover what had been done with their money and would likely kill them all and start over. They suggested the states form corporations like Corp US and showed the advantages of the resultant uniform codes that could be created, which would allow better and more powerful control over the people. 15th, by 1971, every state government in the Union of States had formed such private corporations, Corp State, in accord with the IMF admonition, and the people ceased to seat original jurisdiction governments officials in their state government seats. Now, having seen these historical facts, make an effort to prove these facts for yourself. When you find there is no error, then remember these simple facts, and let no one dissuade you from the truth. The bottom line, when you speak about these private foreign corporations, remember that is what they are and stop calling them government. Furthermore, it's very important that we cease to attempt to fix them. It is far more important that we learn how to reseat our original jurisdiction government and spread the word about the truth. By reseating our state and national governments in their original jurisdiction nature, we gain the capacity to hold these private foreign corporations accountable. They owe us a lot of money, and in fact they owe us more money than there is available in the world to pay us. The fact is, it is impossible for them to pay this back, and that vulnerability gives us exactly the leverage we need to take back our nation and put things right. The process is a simple one. The difficulty is getting our people to wake up to the truth. I beg you, stop acting and communicating like you are anything other than the sovereign that God created you to be, and stop referring to Corp US or the state of X as anything other than the private foreign corporations that they are. It is time that we all start to wake up and follow the truth, and behave like the moral and honourable society we claim to be, instead of silently remaining guilty of 1. Not knowing the truth, or 2. Not living the truth. Our politicians have done everything in their power to hide NESARA from us. There is a mountain of disinformation online, and the media remains silent for a very good reason. I assure you every tactic is being used to hide the facts and deny this law's existence. If we continue to trust the very organisations and platforms that provide disinformation to intentionally deceive us, then we cannot complain about being deceived. Contact your representatives and ask about NESARA. Ask what the law entails, and if it was to be enacted on September 11th, 2001. Ask your delegates if it was signed by your president at that time, Clinton. When you do not get a straight answer or any reply whatsoever, then demand one. It's up to us to fight for our Constitution and the rights contained in it. The bad guys whose money dictates what our representatives do are not going to be the ones that actually tell us how to put them in jail and stop their shenanigans. Fact, once again, William Jefferson Clinton signed NESARA into law on October the 10th, 2000, and it was to be announced on the morning of September 11th, 2001. It is a fact. NESARA is law and is simply not being enforced. Too many have lost their lives for us to just sit and remain silent. As far as I'm concerned, sitting on the sidelines just makes us just as guilty as the ones hiding this from us on many levels. We do have a remedy if we choose to utilise it. You can speak out. You can take control of your destiny. You can take the reins from their hands and guide our destiny towards real freedom. Please sign the petition to enact NESARA and announce it to your family, your friends, and the world. Now! It's time to force our politicians to come clean, and it's up to us to do it. Okay, this was obviously a petition, but there's more. This. Now, it does have like 80-something pages. If you'd like me to read it, let me know. And I'll do it after I finish the 5G's. Probably only got one more little short video to go, and then I could start on this. But let me know what you think, guys, about all this. It could be the reason why the presidential seal's not there anymore. And it could be the reason why President Trump said what he said. So just hang in there, guys, because I think what's coming is quite good. I think there's light at the end of this tunnel. Like Trump keeps saying, you can see that there are good things going on. Okay, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know if you want me to read this. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.